Right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to present. This is slightly different from the technical presentations that we've had up to date. But believe it or not, for emergency communications, we need to be able to use technology. It's not what it used to be in the old days. And I just want to say to the other presenters that presented before me, your presentations are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And it's great to see that there is such a lot of activity, and especially scientific related activity in the hobby. So let's get on. Let's talk about using technology to provide effective Hamnet emergency communications. So first of all, we're going to just look at where does emergency communication stand today. A lot of amateurs, and this is what I've collected over a period of time. Amateurs do what they do best. They pass messages. Then immediately my question is, well, what messages do you pass and where do you pass it to? And most times the topic is changed. The other one is, I can provide emergency communications with my handheld or my mobile FM radio. And yeah, right. Handhelds are very ineffective to use in the field when you're busy with emergency communications. And we get this age-old problem where a person thinks that his handheld can reach the repeater. If he can PTT it and the repeater answers, it's good to use, when it's not, because you might not have good communications through the repeater, for instance. Others, again, yeah, when there's an emergency, I'll provide my services. Sure, but you don't know what you need to do and you don't know who you need to work with. Oh, I do not need to be a Hamnet member. I know what to do in an emergency. Yeah, right. Again, you don't know what you need to do and you don't know who you're working with and what their requirements are. Yeah, when there's an emergency, I'll provide my services. Good luck with that. And then, of course, the others, regularly participate in WenLink Wednesdays and VARA AC Thursdays and all these different activities. So I'm good to go. Again, really? Do you know where the message needs to go to? And the last one as well as, I participate in international emergency networks. When we have a disaster in South Africa, there's no international emergency networks that are running. So yeah, right. Good luck with that one as well. So what the reality is we do not know who we need to provide services to. And I mean, at the moment, I've got here icons, the Red Cross, providing humanitarian services. There is South African Search and Rescue. We are involved in aeronautical and maritime rescue. We've got disaster management. And then we've got different fire services and emergency services through the province, in Gauteng here in particular. All these people operate slightly differently when they're involved. And then, of course, the latest is we actually involved with Insharac as well, via the USAR team, where we operate according to Insharac guidelines. And if you're not fully appraised of these guidelines and what they mean and know how the people work, how are you going to be able to provide a service to them if you don't know what they require? So that's the second point. We don't know what these people require that we need to work with. We also don't know what information they need to have and what information needs to be moved around. We don't know where these messages need to be delivered to. And also there needs to be structure, because if you've got 5 people passing the same message to an operations center, you're going to cause confusion, because the operations center will think there's 5 incidences when there's maybe in reality only 1. And these are the type of things that one needs to consider, that you can't just if you're not fully trained up and know what you're doing, just climb in there and assist. You actually get in the way, and you're actually more of a hindrance than what you are of value. So yeah, we also don't know how we will pass the messages, what method and what mode will be used. Because you think that you've got good comms, and you've got fantastic comms on SSB voice, but you can't do digital modes. And most operation centers nowadays are information driven, which means data, which means we need to pass messages in a written format of some form. So yeah, there's a lot of guys out there, and I mean, this came about now recently with the floods in Mozambique. I had phone calls from people who want to assist, and then I start asking them questions, and then, sorry, how can they assist if they don't know what they need to do? They're not even in contact with the local disaster management people in the town where they stay. So yeah, it's actually scary if you see what's happening on the ground. You are unwelcome. We as amateurs are fixated on amateur radio, and we think that we can just arrive and make things happen. No, if you don't know the organization that you are trying to work with, and you do not have a working relationship with them, and you do not have a MOU or an agreement with them, then you're unwelcome, period. If you don't know who they are and they don't know who you are, they're going to just basically chase you away. So by forming relationships and getting to know the organizations that we need to assist, we'll be able to find out what their requirements are. We'll be able to know what their skills levels are and what they actually need from us. We can also then provide them with a layered solution that has depth. And when I'm talking about the layered solution will come out a little later in the presentation. Today's operation centers are driven by information, which means we need to be able to use data and not voice. And that's very, very, very important. And the other thing we need to demonstrate to these organizations what we can do, not just talk about it. We actually need to demonstrate it. And an example that I can give, we were in a training session, or we were about to start a training session on the operational coordination center that is used by the United Nations to understand how it works and so forth, at the Provincial Disaster Management Center here in Gauteng. Because we need to use a UN system, we needed a Wi-Fi connection or an internet connection. They didn't have a guest internet service in the building. Oops, now what? So within half an hour, we quickly collected equipment together that we had on board in our vehicles, and we set up a Wi-Fi router, and we got everybody attached to the Wi-Fi router, and it got a printer attached and everything. And the lady that was the USAR coordinator said to us, you know what, guys, in a half hour, you've just set up an operation center. And they were so impressed that we as radio amateurs will be able to put up a Wi-Fi center and get everybody up and running in an operation center. They thought we walked on water. And that's not HF and VHF communications that we set up. So yeah, those are the type of things we need to be able to do. It goes beyond just amateur radio. So the things we need to do as Hamnet members, we are not just radio amateurs. We are skilled communication specialists who can advise and assist and serve the served agencies when an emergency or disaster occurs, and they lose communications with their teams at all levels. We can provide them command and control and logistics communications infrastructure that enables them to do their jobs more effective and efficiently. We need to look at the bigger picture, way, way bigger than what just amateur radio is. Now, this is as Hamnet members. We need to think out of the box. We need to be skilled at more than just our amateur equipment. The other thing to remember, commercial companies are restricted to single solutions and technologies, where we are not. Their technology are not necessarily interoperable. We've got a better chance of providing interoperability than what they have. These commercial companies are also restricted to certain frequencies and certain bands that they can operate on. We don't have those restrictions. We have got so many frequencies, so many modes of operation that we can use. It's unbelievable. So how do we do this? We need to develop our skills by experimenting with more than just amateur radio equipment, so that we have a whole bag of possible solutions for a problem. And that's very, very important, because if we're in a situation where we have a failure on a certain mode or with certain equipment, we must be able to roll over to the next system that we've got available. We've got many different ways of moving information around and making sure that it gets to the right person. Like packet radio, APRS messaging, LoRa messaging, JS8 call, VARA AC, WinLink, and FLDigi, to name a few of them. And all of these digital modes that I've mentioned there are usable. Some are faster, some are slower, each has their quirks. But if one falls over and we hit a problem, we can roll over to the next one. We can even facilitate satellite communications, set up WANs and Wi-Fi services, backed up by different layers of systems that runs on amateur frequencies using amateur equipment and software solutions that are developed for us to use. We can set up Wi-Fi networks, as I've already mentioned, connect networks to a WAN running over a 5 gig or a 10 gig radio link. And this is something we've done in the past during COVID time period. We set up a WAN between our Tambo's control tower and the ARCC center, which was off-site during the COVID period. And it worked fantastically. Those guys were online with the control tower. They knew exactly what was happening at the control tower without them actually being there. And we did it on the amateur bands. Messages that originate from the intranet can be relayed over RF connections, whether it's HF, VHF, UHF, microwave links, satellite, like Quebec Oscar 100. There are guys that are already experimenting, pushing data through Quebec Oscar 100, and even using the Starlink system if it's available. In January, I deployed as the comm specialist for the USAR team to go to Mozambique to assist with the floods there. My comms plan was simple. Starlink's available in Mozambique. We would purchase 2 Starlink terminals in Maputo and then deploy into the field. Starlink would be our primary mode of communications, and if that falls, we roll over to HF using WinLink to send messages back to South Africa to let the people know what's happening and so forth. So yeah, it's a layered approach, and that's so very important. So technology, we need to understand all these different technologies. We need to play with them, experiment with them, push their limits so that we can deliver an effective and efficient communication solution backed up by alternatives that are immediately available when the primary solution fails. We need to be at the forefront of technology. As I said, we need to understand how these things work, try and break it, see what the limits are. see what works best in certain situations. In other situations, they might not be the right answer, but we've got something else that we can use. So we need to use the best possible technological solution to provide an effective and efficient service backed up by layers of proven alternatives. We need to give our client whatever he needs in his time of need. And remember, our clients are the disaster management people. They are the search and rescue people. They are even the fire services operating by themselves. I mean, we have provided solutions to them when they have been in a situation to get comms. It's easy, and every time we look at what they're doing and we figure out very quickly what's going to be the best solution for them. Sometimes the solution is as easy as giving them a license-free radio. Put it in their hand, lock it to a certain channel, and we say, talk to each other. And it works. They've got comms, they can talk to each other, they can operate efficiently and effectively. So we need to provide a professional service via the amateur service. We must think like professionals, and we are emergency communications specialists. And I call us specialists because we've got more than one trick in our bag. We've got more than one solution up our sleeves. So if one fails, we can move over to the next one. And we've got a range of solutions that we can use when we need to provide emergency comms, depending on the situation that we're in. So thank you for the opportunity to present.